Hello friends and welcome to Vlogmas day something. I can't remember what day it is, but let's play the intro. Hello friends, I thought today would be a great day to show you me setting up my 2021 reading journal. I did a video where I set up my reading journal for the first time ever a few months ago, which I will leave in the cards. Not sure which way to point when we're like this, but I will leave it in the cards. And so yeah, I thought I would show you me setting up my reading journal for next year because I've changed a few things and I thought that I would get a little bit closer for you so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Last time I just sort of talked about the philosophy of my reading journal. Today we're going to show you what I'm actually doing. I got this journal in a Paper Gang subscription and I absolutely love it. I love foxes. If I had a Patronus, I believe it would be a fox. And I love how small it is. This is smaller than A5, I think. This is an A5 moleskin and this is a bit bigger than half of that. Maybe it is about an A6. It's got a nice hard cover and it is matte finish with all this foiling. I love it, and it is the perfect size because it's only little, but I wanted a reading journal that I would be able to carry around all year. My last reading journal I loved, but I only used it when I was at home because it was too big to have in all my bags. It was kind of cumbersome and annoying. This is me hoping that in 2021 I'll get to leave my house more often, but I mean, I'll at least take this to work with me, which is the only place I'm really going. So I've got this. I've also got my Twinings Sleepy Time tea. No, it is not bedtime. It is about 2 in the afternoon, but it's my favourite tea, so I'm going to be drinking that anyway. And then I just got a few pens. As I mentioned in my last video about my reading journal, I'm not really here to make a pretty reading journal. I'm not here to make everything absolutely perfect because, for one thing, I'm not very good at drawing, and for another, that would take so much time and I think would spoil the purpose of my reading journal. What I want this for is to keep track of some of my stats and also to make notes while I'm reading. I have decided for this reading journal to limit to myself because in the last one I was trying to write everything down that I thought as I thought it. For now, I am going to try and limit myself to one of these small pages per book. Some books may require more than one, but that is what I am aiming for. So, without further ado, I've got my plan here in this moleskin, which is why I have it. The pens that I have, these ballpoints that are absolutely everywhere, a fine liner that is by Bic, and also some pastel highlighters by Bic, because I thought they always look nice when people put their pastel highlighters in, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too much effort. And I only had what they had in the co-op, so this is not fancy. This is very much a straightforward, easy reading journal. This has very fine lines in it. I'm not sure if you can quite see that. I'll lift it up. It's got very fine lines in it, which I like because I have very small handwriting, and so with wider lines it can become impossible to see what I've written. So here I'm just going to have my opening page that says 2021 so that I know the year. I don't think I'll be able to fit the whole year in here, but we'll see. I'm not going to do anything too fancy. I might make it prettier at some other point. And I have wobbly handwriting and nothing looks great. I didn't realise it would bleed through, so I'm going to stick something over that to cover that up and just have something pretty on that page. And we'll start here. What I'm going to put here is 2021 reads. I'm just going to use the following pages to track what I've read in 2021. I do track what I read in the story graph, so I don't necessarily need to have it written down. But because I'm going to be using this journal for writing my information, for writing my thoughts and stuff, I would like to also keep a track of what I've read, who wrote it, and possibly what I thought of it. But nothing more in-depth than that. Everything in-depth will be on the story graph, so I don't really need to worry about it. So this year so far, we are a third of the way into December, and I have read 105 books. So I'm going to leave, each of these pages has about 28 lines, I think. I counted, but I can't remember. So I'm going to leave 4 pages. I don't know if I'll read 100 books next year, but I think it's safer to leave more pages than you think you'll need rather than less. I can always stick something nice into a blank page, but I can't. Having to skip around is always kind of annoying. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually going to leave 5 because when I'd worked it out, I hadn't worked it out with the bleeding, and so I need a double page spread for the next thing that I'm going to set up. Here we go. So here I'm going to set up some monthly stats. So I don't feel like as I've been using them, the Storygraph, and I've been using, I can't write and talk at the same time. As I've been using the Storygraph and I have used Goodreads in the past, I have discovered that I don't feel like I have enough stats for what I really want in the information. It doesn't have all the information about like where the book was from and all that sort of thing. Like how I acquired the book is not something that I normally see in these websites. They don't really have a function for that, and so I'm going to make my own. That's why I feel like I need this in here. So I'm just going to write the months down the side. I'm not using a ruler. I'm not really caring about it being straight, but I just wanted to mark that off. This is going to be all stats. This is just a page for numbers, so I don't need a huge amount of space here. So I've got books I've read, like how many I've read in each month. How many of those I read were books that I already owned in physical copy. How many books I borrowed. How many books were audiobooks. Audible books I already own or from Scribd. That's what I mean by that, because I'm going to put my borrowed audio and ebooks in here. How many ebooks, which I don't think will be very much. How many books I bought, because I am taking myself off of my book buying ban next year. I still don't think I'll buy many books because I work in a library, but I'm taking myself off my book buying ban, so I'm going to see how many I actually borrow, see how many I actually buy, see how much that affects my budget and how much money I'm actually spending on books. And here is for my ratings, which I meant to put up there, but so how many 1 stars, how many 2 stars, how many 3 stars, how many 4 stars, and how many 5 stars. It looks squished in, but what I'm planning to do is just numbers, so I won't actually need that much space. So that's my stat page. Everything on here is just going to be numbers based. And again, it doesn't look that pretty, but it is perfectly functional for me. And I like the highlighters. I think it adds a nice lightness to it. So instead of like big black lines, it's a little bit of colour and a little bit easier. So after that, I'm planning to try and participate in some reading challenges this year. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to complete any of these. I'm just sort of using them as guidelines, and it's like to try and help me broaden and expand on my reading, because I feel like hopefully these will help me stick within genres that I like but explore stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up, because I've worked out this year that I know what I like in genres, but there's stuff that I don't necessarily get exposed to as much that I would like to get more exposed to. So I'm going to be doing the Reading Women Challenge, and there are 24 prompts in the Reading Women Challenge. I'm going to give them space so that I can write what the prompt is and also what I have read for that prompt. So I'm going to need at least 2 lines for every prompt. So I'm going to put that one on here. I think I will need 2 pages for this. And I will write the prompts in when I know them, but currently I don't. So I'm just making a note that that is what I'm doing in these pages. Also planning to look at the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge and the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. It just allows me to think about the books that I'm reading, to consider what different things that I'm looking for in my reading. If there's stuff like picture books or sci-fi, stuff that I don't really fancy reading, I'm just not going to do that part of the challenge. I think it's a good way to kind of expand your reading, but I'm not going to be too strict about it this year, because I feel like I was very strict with myself last year about reading, and I feel like I read a lot of books that I probably wouldn't have read otherwise and didn't end up enjoying, so I'm going to try and avoid doing that again this year. But the other thing that I'm going to look into, which I guess is a similar thing, is book prizes. I want to keep abreast of the book prizes, know what's going on in the world of book prizes, and see what I feel like reading off of a book prize. It's interesting when things get longlisted, shortlisted. Unless I decide to do Reading the Women's Prize Challenge again, or maybe try the book prize this year, unless I try to do that again, I'm probably only going to go for the ones that actually interest me, but I'd like to know what is on the long list or the short list, so that I can, explore them and see if any of those stand out to me or speak to me. So, the Booker Prize, as I already mentioned, which is awarded to any any book written in English in the last year. So these will be 2020 published books. And then we've got the Booker International Prize, which is any book that has been translated into English in the last year. 2021 books these will be. And what I'm going to do is write out the long list. Generally speaking, there are 13 for the Booker, or there have been in recent years, but things can change, so I'm not going to fit it in anywhere perfectly. But my plan is to write down the whole of the long list on my page here, and then tick off the ones that I read and highlight the ones that make it onto the shortlist. Basically, that's what I'm going to do for all of the prizes, and then I will write the winner at the bottom. That way I don't have to rewrite out books that made it from the long list to the shortlist. I can just highlight them. Want to read the Women's Prize, or at least be aware of it. I enjoyed reading the Women's Prize this year, picking up some books that I maybe wouldn't have known about otherwise. I will leave my vlog where I read the Women's Prize shortlist in the cards, and you can go and check that one out if you fancy it. The Walter Scott Prize is one that I hadn't heard about until more recently, and that is a prize entirely based on historical fiction. So every book, the long list is the best historical fiction that was written in the previous year in English. And so I, as you know, love historical fiction, got a lot of videos about it. I will be interested to see how many of these I've already read, because the Walter Scott Prize is based on the previous year. So the 2021 Walter Scott Prize will be books that came out in 2020. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them I read this year. And also I feel like that might be one that I want to try and read all of the long list, because I read the shortlist for the Goodreads prize, and it'll be interesting to see a historical fiction popularity contest versus a historical fiction chosen by judges, because the judges will have read everything, but also things that made it to the shortlist for the Goodreads choice won't make it to the shortlist for the Walter Scott. For example, The Vanishing Half, because the Walter Scott Prize, it has to have been based 50 years before it was published, I believe. I'll write on the screen when it actually is. And so stuff that is based in the 80s or 90s doesn't count for the Walter Scott Prize. And then there's also the Dylan Thomas Prize, which is a prize for a young writer, so a writer under 40. And it is a prize to the writer, but I think that one of their books is kind of chosen as their feature for that. So that will be interesting. The other thing that I want to do is get more into non-fiction next year. I have always wanted to be someone who reads more non-fiction, but I haven't been making an effort this year to actually read more non-fiction. So I am paying attention to now I'm not sure how you pronounce this. I don't know if it's Bailey, but the Bailey Gifford Prize, which is a prize entirely awarded for non-fiction. I also want to have a look at the Wainwright Prize, which is a prize awarded for nature writing, but it's actually two prizes, and there's one that's for UK nature writing and one that's for conservation. I've been wanting to read more nature writing. I love nature writing, and I think non-fiction related to conservation and climate change, as well as UK nature writing, is definitely something that I want to try and read more of next year. So just getting an idea of what's on the shortlist or what's on the long list, just to know more about what's actually out there next year. That would be something that I want to do. And then also the Orwell Prizes. The Orwell Prizes are prizes awarded in the UK for political writing. There's a journalism prize, there's a expose prize for exposing the evils of the British state, and then there is also the political non-fiction and the political fiction prizes. And I love a bit of politics. It's what I listen to when I listen to podcasts, which is mostly where I pay attention to that sort of thing. But I definitely want to read more books about it too, because there's something that's longer form and takes longer to write, so can't be so immediate and in the moment. And also politics within fiction. Since I love history within fiction, I think politics within fiction would be something that I should get into as well. So then I forgot to write that I wanted to know the winner of all of them, so I'm going to have to go back and do this. One thing I'm sure you are noticing throughout this video is my terrible handwriting. Yes, that is one of the reasons I can never have an aesthetically pleasing bullet journal, reading journal, just general journal, is because my handwriting is awful. It's all right if I focus on it and pay attention, but as soon as there's any time crunch, my handwriting becomes illegible. I had a teacher who said it was as if a spider had stepped into an inkwell and walked all over my page. So that's not what this is about. This is about the information, not the legibility. Although, I suppose, what's the point of the information if you can't read it? But anyway, moving on. So that is all of the things that I wanted to pay attention to that is year long. My 2021 reads, my monthly stats, my reading challenges that I'm looking at and thinking about, and also the book prizes that I want to pay attention to. So then we will move into the monthly information. Now here I want to see if I've actually read. I want to track how many days of the month I'm actually reading. So I know that January doesn't start on a Sunday or a Monday, so this is not exactly what the calendar will look like, but it's only about tracking days I've read. So my plan is to just, with one of these, I don't think it will matter which one, I might use different ones on different days, just put a little dot if I read anything at all. And that is literally all it is. I just want to know if I've read anything. So then here, I'm going to put my video ideas. I currently make a video every day in December, but at the moment but before then I was making 3 videos a week. So I just want to keep a list of video ideas that I think I'll put in January. I'm not going to put them on a calendar though, I'm just going to make them a list because I put them on my phone calendar in the day that I want to put them up, but it's much better that way because it's very easy to move around, because if I filmed something, I've pre-filmed something, and then I wanted something that was a reading vlog of a week, but it's taking me longer, then I can just put the pre-filmed one up, etc. And so I don't want to do that because it would involve a lot of crossing out, because just because I've decided that I want to put something up on a Wednesday, it might end up going up on the following Friday instead, just because of the way my schedule's worked. So I prefer to just have the list of the ideas that I'm thinking of doing, rather than having a calendar that I've written in ink what I'm going to do. Then over here, I'm going to keep a track of my TBR for the month. Everything at the start of the month I told you guys that I was planning to read. And then I also want to keep track of everything I have borrowed from the library that month, because I do my library haul videos at the end of the month, and just to keep track of how many things I'm borrowing when I'm returning things and stuff like that. So I know which ones I've borrowed from which month. And then on this side, I'm going to keep everything that I have read and my rating, which I know seems a bit ridiculous to be writing out twice, but it's just, this is for my wrap-ups, so that I have it in place for the wrap-ups, what I've actually read and what I rated it, so that it's easy for me to do for that. Because obviously in January, it'll look the same as my my 2021 read section, but by the time I get to April or May, it'll be much easier if I have it separate on its own page. And then the other thing I wanted to put is just down the bottom here, my favourite book of the month. Just because I've decided I want to keep track of that. Be interesting to see if there are some months where I have loads I love and some months I have loads I don't, because I'm probably 6 months in, we'll be doing like a wrap up in here of everything that I've read. And then the only other thing is each book. So once it gets to January and I start reading, there will be a page here with the title and the author of whatever book I read first, and then just notes about what I think whilst I'm reading it, ideas that it brings up, things I want to keep a note of, quotes and stuff. I'm going to try and keep it to a page for each book, maybe a double page spread for each book. We'll see how I feel. But some books I don't want to write anything about, so we'll just have to play it by ear. But that is it. That is my setup so far. So I'll just do a quick flick through. And as I said, as you can see, it's very messy. It's not beautiful, except for the outside is beautiful. But that was nothing to do with me. So pages for my 2021 reads, everything that I've read, and I'm not going to put lines in or anything because some titles are longer, some authors' names are longer, so I'm not going to bother with that, but the book, the author and my rating will go here, and I've left a few pages here for that. My monthly stats, which is just everything that I have read and whether I owned it, borrowed it, audio, and how many books I rated, every star rating, just so I can see how well the month is going. My reading challenges, that I want to keep up with this year, to try and inspire me to read a bit more differently. So we've got the Reading Women Challenge, the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. The book prizes that I want to pay attention to this year, because they award books that I might not have heard of, but are in areas that I want to read more of. We've got the Booker Prize, the Booker International Prize, the Women's Prize, the Walter Scott Prize, Dylan Thomas Prize, Bally Gifford Prize, the Wainwright Prize, Orwell Prize, and that's it. So it's a lot of prizes, but hopefully there will be lots of interesting books. And I'm definitely not going to be reading all of the books that get longlisted and shortlisted and everything, but I just want to know, so that's why I'm keeping it here. And then we move on to January, a tracker for how many days of the month I actually end up reading, not to try and pressure myself to read anymore, but just because I'm interested. If there are certain days that repeatedly come up that I don't read, like do I never read on a Thursday? Who knows? My video ideas for the month that are unscheduled, just floating ideas, my TBR, the books, how many books I borrowed from the library, what books I borrowed from the library, what I've read, what I rated it, and my favourite book. And then everything else will just be notes on books that I read in January until it gets to February, and I will start a new monthly section. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you keep a reading journal. Do you have any tips for me how to make it pretty without having any artistic talent? Would love to hear that. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like this video if you liked it, and to subscribe, because I'm putting out videos every day until Christmas Day, and so I will be here again tomorrow. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!